Shut up and sit down.
All right, hello, everyone, and welcome to 323 Weekly. That is right. That is my. Actually, there is an emote for the orange one. I only have one emote, and he's my favorite, so I'll go ahead and drop that in chat. It's, that one's Stuart. But the kitty's actually getting up because they're excited, and now they're going to their separate corners. For 323 Weekly. So here we are jumping in to our week 3 synopsis, episode 4 of this experiment. Today, not really any changes to the agenda. Still no interviews yet. We are going to talk about our tier list. We're going to talk about our what to watch for the coming week. We're going to do top 5 plays. And we're going to continue talking simulations and how those are taking shape as we go on through the season here. Just give me 1 sec, making sure I have all my notes handy, as they're not really Google Drive not playing nice with me at the moment. There we go. All right. So, Storm Division. A little bit of an abbreviated schedule. We had a late makeup. This match, CPOG X versus Team Alexander, took place after 323 Weekly last time around. Where'd my mouse go? There. So CPOG X actually put up a really good showing against CPOG X Fan Club, I should say, since there was actually a player called CPOG X. CPOG X Fan Club actually put up a really good showing against Team Alexander, taking it to 5 games. So kudos to them on that. Unfortunately, it looks like they didn't really have as much time to prepare for Chili Mountain. Found themselves losing that series 3-0. Great showing by Chili Mountain. Regen finding a 3-0 victory over the other Korean team. Unreported match result. And actually, I'm sorry, this is incorrect. It was a 3-2 VGM over Exodia. VGM got challenged by Exodia, which I expected. I thought it would be a good set, but ultimately pulled that one out. Seton versus Team Alexander, which was a Week 3 matchup, has been delayed. So it will not take place until next Saturday, which means, once again, 323 Weekly won't be on Saturday. We'll work out what day I'm doing it, and we'll figure it out from there. But this was where we left off last time. Here was our tier list. Now, I still think Team Alexander deserves to be the lone team up here because of their win over VGM. That said, I saw this series as close enough that I'm willing to leave Exodia up here on the B line. The team that I wanted to move up, or on the A line, excuse me. The team I actually wanted to move up because they looked really good. Now, granted, and I don't know if I missed it or if it was a mistake. I should have had this last week. The other Korean team, I believe, lost to Seton, if I'm not mistaken. Although, admittedly, it's been a bit hard to keep track of. For now, the other Korean team just really looks like they're struggling. So I'm actually going to drop them down to E tier. Bit surprising to do. I think while I liked what I saw against CPOG X Fan Club, against Team Alexander, I still think it's probably between kind of these 3 for the last playoff spot. I could arguably leave all 3 on the same tier. I thought about moving Regen up, but for now, I still don't think they're going to be a top 4. But I do think they'll make playoffs at this point. So I kind of think the top 4 is captured pretty nicely here. I don't know if Chili Mountain's below the other 3 yet, but we'll find out as we go through the season. Of course, the match to watch this week, while they struggled in their second match. Wait, that is, hang on. They already played that. I thought I updated this. My match next week was not this. My match next week was VGM versus Regen. So, I don't know exactly what happened here, other than to say it was VGM versus Regen, and I somehow forgot to update the graphics there. My apologies. But that is the match I want to watch next week. VGM's been showing some inconsistencies. We'll see if Regen, who has been improving, can jump on that. Maybe Regen can move up into those top 4. It just looking at the schedule, Regen, they have good losses, but good losses don't improve your playoff seed. So they need to get a couple good wins in there. Anyway. So, from there, Heroic Division. Heroic Division has gotten a bit chaotic. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but while I think Sarah's Crypto Crew so far has looked like the best team, they haven't really played anyone. The rest of the top teams in Heroic have really been going back and forth, and this is kind of unusual. Heroic Division typically tends to be the most striated season in and season out, but I think with some of the top talent pulled away to Storm Division, really opened up, and Heroic Division's extremely competitive. An example of this is we already have a circle where Archon beat Archon beat Double Paradox. Double Paradox beat Richard, and Richard, and Richard, and Richard beat Archon. So, like, who do you rank ahead there? I don't know. New Game Plus continues to get wins. They did drop a match to Brawl His Life earlier this season, but getting the 2-1 over PRR. Yamate Kudasai continues to struggle, dropping a match to Wildheart. Wildheart with a good week, but against weaker competition, but also got the 2-0 over Phoenix Rising Topaz. And Archon getting the 2-1 over Brawl His Life. Right now, Topaz and Ripers are playing. Both those teams I have towards the bottom right now, so we'll see what happens. But moving in, so this was where I was last week, and things have just only gotten less certain since then. So I'm actually going to drop Yamate Kudasai down to D tier. That's kind of my first move. Sky 5, as we noted, is withdrawn. The Phoenix Rising teams, I haven't really seen any reason to move them up above C. But Wildheart, once I actually mapped everything out, Wildheart, of all the teams above, is the one without really a win against this top group. So I'm going to move Wildheart down to C for now. And now the rest of these 6, I kind of just have everyone on B. Ceros Crypto Crew I still have on A, but again, their win quality really isn't there, so they could drop down. I think Archon probably is the best team in this group. And then from there, I'd order it this way, even though I still think Richard, and Richard is going to have a really good season. I wouldn't be surprised to see them back up at A soon. It's just a matter of they are coming off the loss to Double Paradox, so I can't put them to the left of Double Paradox. But this is currently where I'm sitting with Heroic. No real team has separated themselves out enough to climb to S. Again, Sarah's Crypto Crew, they don't really have any quality wins yet. I'm not taking fan tier. That was a week 1 thing only. That was a week 1 thing only, or a week 0 thing only, I should say. Again, I don't really know how this order is going to work out between these 5, but I think it's going to be really close throughout the season. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth. Again, I actually had to take the time to chart this out on a whiteboard to figure out, like, okay, who beat who, where are the cycles, etc. And it took me a while to kind of settle on this. We'll see as season goes on. Wildheart has a chance to get that win against Archon, but Archon's been playing well. It's gonna be a pretty tough out. From there, taking a look at the simulations. So I have updated simulations. Currently, safe bets to make playoffs. My simulator still really likes Wildheart, even though Wildheart doesn't. Wildheart has not really beaten anyone that I would consider particularly strong right now. Sky 5 currently not on this list because they are withdrawn, but Yamate Kudasai really finding themselves slipping. Ripers, they haven't played a lot, so if they can get maybe some wins against some lower tier teams, that would boost their average, and if they can then maybe knock off one of these, they could still very much make playoffs. There's still a lot of ways to go. Sometimes the simulation can overreact to some early losses against teams that end up being better later. But yeah, I mean, right now you look at who's going to make playoffs. It's still pretty skeptical on Double Paradox, despite their good showing. Double Paradox is more kind of in between Bubble and Probable right now. You look at what the simulator likes for playoffs. It's kind of in this order. These top 6 likely to make playoffs. Hang on, I am missing a team. I am missing. One second. I apologize. Oh no, Double Paradox. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Sorry, I'm not missing a team. Sorry, forgive me. Anyway, resetting. So these top 6, I think, are likely to make playoffs. I'd throw Double Paradox in there as well, as while the simulation still kind of 69% nice. I think move them over here once they start getting some more wins. They've had a tough schedule so far, and they've done fairly well with it, all things considered. And then from there, either throw in Ripers or one of the Phoenix Rising teams, and I think that is likely to be your playoffs. Of course, still a long way to go, and these teams have really been beating up on each other over here. So some of them could slip away from the safe bet category. A West results, moving down to A West. A West, Forge the winning condition, continues to dominate. Fancy Flightless Foul and Running Wild continue to struggle. Fox and his carries getting a much-needed 2-0. Pretty one-sided games this week. The only one that really looked exciting on paper to me was Regen Retro and Baby Makers, which I did cast. It hasn't been reported yet. Regen Retro getting a 2-1 in that series. Very, very good series. So here's where I was last week. Here was my tier list. Unfortunately, as much as it hurts, I gotta drop Running Wild down to E. I think they're just overmatched. I think this is something where the team is just gonna have to take their licks this season, and they'll find themselves in B next season. With competition, I think they would be much more in line with. But at this point, it's very hard for me to see them winning a map. Fancy Flightless Foul, they look better, but still looking a bit overmatched. From there, so Regen and Forge, one of these two teams is S, and if you asked me to guess, I would say Forge the winning condition is probably better than Regen Retro right now. But I'm not ready to commit so much so as to move one up to S. I will move Baby Makers down. I thought, even though that series was pretty close, when it came down to it, Regen Retro just pretty much got outdrafted map 1. And outside of that, it looked like a pretty strong showing from them. Baby Makers did okay. But I don't think right now Baby Makers is at this tier, having watched that match. So we'll see. Obviously, look out for when Forge the winning condition plays Regen Retro. Not next week. But Forge the winning condition is playing Baby Makers next week. That's on Tuesday. When I checked earlier today, no caster yet. It's Tuesday at 8 p.m. Which is a pretty early match for a West Coast game. But yeah, one thing I have noted is there's only one flex match scheduled in A West. And given that A West has a double round robin, there's 14 weeks to schedule. So there needs to be a lot more flex matches happening. I think once you start seeing some of these reverse fixtures, it'll be very interesting to see who kind of improves later in the season. An example of this, Phoenix Rising Ruby lost to Regen Retro in A West last season, ultimately won the reverse fixture, ultimately came back, beat a lot of the teams that beat them, got the 1 seed. So, got the 2 seed, excuse me. Tainted Orphans got the 1 seed. But just kind of keep an eye on, once those reverse fixtures start happening, where the result changes, because you'd rather be the team that won second than the team that won first heading into playoffs. Simulations, things looking very bleak already for Fancy Flightless Foul and Running Wild. They're going to need to really turn their seasons around to have a chance of making playoffs. Right now, it still likes Regen Retro, Forge the Winning Condition, Minion Miners, and Baby Makers. Baby Makers coming down a bit with that loss to Regen Retro, but I still think they're a better team than Fox and his carries, unless Fox and his carries can start to turn things around. So look at these top 4 to be your playoff teams. If I had to guess, I'd say one of these is 1 and 2. Minion Miners would be 3. Baby Makers would be 4, or vice versa. We'll see what happens, though. A East results. So a couple of results from week 2 picked up over here. These were played after 323 Weekly last week. Regen Phoenix put up a good showing against Caffeinated Knights. Caffeinated Knights, the only undefeated team in A East so far. And it's only 3 weeks in. So A East is once again the most competitive division in NGS. Probably not a surprise to anyone, but especially with Tiny Dancer's Roomba rotation coming in looking good, it has made that division as competitive as it was at its peak last season. But Caffeinated Knights undefeated, keeps it that way after Regen Phoenix. Tiny Dancers comes in, shows up Team Happy Cloud. Remember, Team Happy Cloud, one of the favorites heading into the season. Actually, Key, I think, had it as the lone S team in A East. Hasn't shaken out that way, but their series have been close. And when we get to the tier list, you'll see even though they lost there, the win over Party Time will have them moving up. Beefy Boys upset probably of the week throughout all of NGS. Beefy Boys dropping 0-2 to Tricky Gooses. Tricky Gooses, one of those teams that can be very, very difficult to play. They bring in a lot of kind of gadget comps. And if you're not, and I turned my mic down a bit because I was redlining, so I wanted to hopefully improve the sound quality there. One of those teams that can be really hard to prepare for. And so I expected Tricky Goose to pull some upsets. They're still going to need to pull a lot more for me to move them back up into considering them as like a serious playoff team. But they've shown they can do it. Gilly Shark, 2-0 win over Roomba rotation. So that's your DB Smiley kiss of death for the week. I move Roomba up to A. There we go. Party Time, though, starting to have a disappointing season. You know, when you look at their body of work, they don't really have an impressive win at the moment. And then unreported result, Careless Badgers 2-0 over Wholesome Halfwits. Wholesome Halfwits continuing to struggle. Regen Phoenix Tiny Dancers. This is actually a really big match. I think this has playoff implications in terms of who's actually going to make playoffs. That's going on at 9 Eastern tonight. Jay's on hot, so check that out. Yes, both maps were close, but you know, it's still gonna be like that sometimes. And by the way, I Roomba actually stays. I mean, they stay pretty high on the tier list, I should note, because I did recognize it was close. Gilly Shark, I was ready to give up on them week 1, but that loss week 1 to Beefy Boys, who I was really low on to start the season, has looked better until this week, but it looks more like a fluke now, if anything. So, here's where we were. Roomba coming down, sorry for the kiss of death. Gilly moving up. Tiny Dancers moving up. The team that's actually moving down, Party Time. Tricky Gooses is moving up. Now you may be thinking, wow, that's a lot of teams on that tier. Well, you're right. So let's go ahead and move one more down. Beefy Boys dropping to C. And I'm going to actually change the order of this here. I will put Tricky Gooses on the left, then Beefy Boys, then Party Time. Here in the middle, once again, I made like a chart to try to work out what order to put things in. And it's difficult. There's still a lot of matches to be played, which will help out. I tend to put Regen Phoenix more to the right, but I actually put Team Happy Cloud the farthest to the right. I think they've really been struggling so far. Careless Badgers currently over Tiny Dancers, then Roomba, and Gilly. I'm kind of getting back on their train. But again, this order, it's difficult to do right now. Caffeinated Knights, the only undefeated team up here. But if I'm honest, I'm not highly confident that Caffeinated Knights is better than all the teams below them. They're just up there by virtue of being undefeated. So we'll see what happens. Again, big matchup between these two teams tonight. Next week to watch, Gilly Shark versus Team Happy Cloud. You know, which Gilly Shark's going to show up, which Team Happy Cloud's going to show up. We'll find out. That's casted by Bahamut on Thursday, 8:30 Eastern. That's the match to watch. AE Simulations. A lot of probable teams, not a lot of safe bets right now. Despite THC kind of falling off, they're still at a 91%, so they're kind of like here-ish. They're still a safe bet, but they're kind of trending to probable. And you'll notice I don't really have teams perfectly aligned under one heading. But Simulator likes Gilly Shark, likes Caffeinated Knights, excuse me. It is really soured on Wholesome Halfwits, as have I. Admittedly, I'm at this point, unfortunately, where I have moved Wholesome Halfwits down to E. And I forgot to do that while on the last slide. But at this point, I'm worried about their ability to win many more maps this season, let alone a match. They could turn it around, but really not long on them. Tricky Gooses, they were in long shot territory. They've climbed up to improbable with that win over Beefy Boys. Beefy Boys, therefore, sliding down a bit. But, I mean, you count up the teams over here. There's 9 teams between Party Time and Caffeinated Knights. Only 8 of these teams can make playoffs. Right now, Party Time, Regen Phoenix, and Roomba Rotations, interesting enough, are who the Simular thinks most likely is the one to drop out. But keep an eye on Tricky Gooses. That upset may spark something. They may come in and make this a 10-team race. In either case, will be interesting. And once the match is done tonight, I still post simulations tomorrow in the channel. So we'll see if anything changes after that Phoenix versus Tiny Dancers game. Dropping down to Division B, B West results. Arrogant Nephilim continuing to struggle, this time dropping 0-2 to Phoenix Rising Emerald. Emerald, a hard team to place right now. I looked at their results, and they had lost to Lurk Patrol, but otherwise, now they have a win over Arrogant Nephilim. So, given how well Lurk Patrol's doing, perhaps they're a lot better a team than I gave them credit for. Uwu continues to do extremely well, 2-0. Lurk Patrol did need 3 games to dispatch Spooky Ghosts, but still did so. Soak Every Lane continues to struggle, dropping 2-1 to Better Than Bots. Cosmos, back on the right track. It's the 2-1 over Roll 1, who also struggled again with Uwu this week. So, taking a look, at the moment, this was where we were at last week. Lurk Patrol, Uwu, they're staying on the A line. Whoever wins that's going to be S. But they're staying up there. Well, so I understand that with PRE, but so here's what I have to go off of. I have to go off the results. Because the second I start digging into, okay, what's going on with the substitutions, what's going on with the roster and all that, I don't want to find myself in a position to speak to another team's status. I can say that, I'll just be honest, I have been on teams that almost, my Season 1 team almost imploded before the season started, almost imploded 2 weeks in, and we won the division. I've seen crazy things happen. For now, I'm just ranking them off their results. I can't rank them off what they're going to look like because I don't know. Now, I can use that uncertainty to say I'm not moving them past C. I'm not like, oh, they beat Arrogant Nephilim to the top. No, it's not happening. But they are certainly going to move off the D line from that. And if they fold, then they'll go down to E, and I'll turn them into that little gray color by going to picture format, color, and they'll look like that. But until that actually happens, they do deserve to move up to C. Wind Train, on the other hand, has continued to struggle. They are making the drop down to D tier. Spooky Ghosts, they did get a map win over Lurk Patrol, but it's not enough for me to move them off the D line. Cosmos, however, looking pretty good. They're going to move up. Arrogant Nephilim's got a drop. Soak Every Lane's got a drop. Bronze 6, we didn't see anything from them, so call it no news is good news. They do have the win over Cosmos, so they're staying above them. But here is my current setup. Putting PRE to the left of Arrogant Nephilim. Soak Every Lane just doesn't have any meaningful wins. How can I make the... I'll pixelate them. That's what I'll do. I'll pixelate them. I don't know. Whatever. I'll make the white grayer. Contrast... No, contrast de-intensifies. Contrast intensifying would make it more black and white, not more gray. But here's where I'm at with this. Cosmos, they dropped that match to Bronze 6, and I was actually pretty concerned because that looked really one-sided, but they look like their roster's starting to gel, so keep an eye out for them. As far as the simulation goes, the simulator still likes Soak Every Lane, despite the loss there, because even when they're losing, they're getting maps. So they're getting maps, they're hanging around there. Lurk Patrol Uwu, of course, very, very safe. It has better than bots, very, very safe, but all of these teams fairly safe. It has PRE as probable, of course. We'll see what happens. That could open up a spot. It actually has Spooky Ghost on the bubble at 51%. Arrogant Nephilim spiraling down to improbable down here with Wind Train, and Roll 1 Esports sitting at long shot stats. I thought about moving Roll 1 down to E, but they also have played some tough opponents already. They've played Lurk Patrol, they've played Uwu. Maybe they'll get a chance to get a match win. Their time, however, is starting to tick down a bit. Uwu with a very interesting schedule coming up, by the way. They're playing better than bots. They have Lurk Patrol coming up, and if I remember, they have Cosmos coming up too. Yeah, no, I'm not by coming match. I don't mean this week, because I definitely look closely at this week's schedule, but just they've. Oh no, I did say they played you, and that was incorrect. They played Cosmos, and they played, I think, better than bots. I can't recall. They're on the cusp of moving down to E tier. So anyway, match to watch: Jazzaline casting it. Tuesday, it's going to be Uwu versus Better Than Bots. Uwu with a chance or should I say, Uwu with a chance to get a big statement win, which they've been doing so far anyway. Better Than Bots could climb up to A if they find the upset here. All right, moving over simulations again. Right now, it really likes Uwu, by the way, as the 1 seed, the simulator. More so than Lurk Patrol, although Lurk Patrol not shabby at 32.41%. But now moving on to Northeast. So Northeast, 4 of the 5 games this week have been played. Should be noted that Northeast and Southeast have exactly 10 teams in 9 weeks, so there are 0 flex matches. Makes it a bit easier to put this together. Boogan and Die Gaming. Well, it's because Uwu hasn't dropped maps, and you guys have. You guys have dropped 2 maps, even though you've won the set. I think Uwu is undefeated on maps. Or if at most they've dropped 1, but I think they're undefeated, and that's why. They're down 1. Okay, they did drop 1 map. Okay, so that's the difference in the simulator. I mean that's what it comes down to. So Lu Bu, upset in this division was Deckard's Erudition beating Lu Bu 2-0. Strange Team Comp continues to struggle, getting dominated by Scolding Sweat Cult, who's looking to recover after that loss to Goodbye Forever. Or no, Boogan's Forever, excuse me. It's a combination of Boogan Squad and Goodbye Forever, and I keep messing it up. Animaniacs dropping 0-2 to Death and Delay, who's looking like the best team in the division. And Legal got the 2-0 over Regen Ghost. When we get to the top 5 plays of the week, you will see that Regen Ghost played that series exceptionally close. That was not a dominant victory at all. In fact, it was 2 comebacks by Legal, which granted, I'm on Legal, some bias there, but Regen Ghost put on a good show this week. It's why they're not going to move down despite the 2-0 loss. So here's where we were. I got high on Lubu, but after their loss to Deckard's Erudition, kind of an interesting pattern emerged. So first, Team Strange Comp continues to struggle. They're dropping to D. I'm going to move Regen Ghost over to left for now. Animaniacs, you can't blame them for losing Death and Delay, but something interesting has happened. So Animaniacs beat Deckard's Erudition. Deckard's Erudition beat Lubu. Lubu beat Animaniacs. So we already have a triangle here. And so I'm just going to put them all on C until one of them separates from the pack. You look at what they've done outside of this. It's this is a triangle here. They don't really have Deckard's Erudition lost to Legal. Animaniacs, there was Lubu beat Strange Team Comp. I can't remember which. I think it was Lubu. So they're outside of this triangle. They don't really have any defining matches. So I'm gonna leave them like this for now. Regen Ghost, I actually thought about moving up because I will say this: the match with Legal could have gone either way. I also thought about moving us down, but for now, I'm gonna keep this tier separated, just based on results alone. These 2 teams, I think the winner of this series is going to win the division. Scolding Sweat Cult, though, keep an eye on them because they did lose the Boogans Forever, but I think they match up well with the kind of chaos style they like to play against Death and Delay, who wants to go for pickoffs. So could turn into a triangle up at the top. But for now, here's where I'm at. Match to watch. One of these teams is going to move up the standings and certainly separate themselves from the other 3 here, I think. So I was interested in this matchup between Animaniacs and Regen Ghost. That's Wednesday at 8. No caster yet. At least not at the time I put this together. By the way, forgive me if I seem distracted. I am actually I'm still dealing with the after effects of an illness, so I'm still recovering. I'm a bit monkey-minded, having a hard time focusing. Despite the loss, Simulator still likes Lubu a lot. It's up with the top 4 and kind of the 98+% chance to make playoffs. Probable, you look at these top 3, or these 3, I should say, which I had on the C tier. Regen Ghost, Deckard's Erudition, Animaniac. So all 8 of these, I think, are going to be the playoff teams. Team Strange Comp, Die Gaming, they're way down here, and I don't see that changing. Moving on to Southeast. Southeast, I've been apparently saying it wrong the entire season. It's Hollow Wife. I do not know how I came up with Hollow Live Gaming Cat Girls. Maybe I was thinking a live hologram, but it's Hollow Wife Gaming Cat Girls. So, oops. They recovered from that loss to Deathweb. Deathweb, I think, right now is just, I think, possibly a misplaced team. And that's not to try to throw shade. It was a new team. It's hard to place them, but they're playing at a level that is significantly above the rest of Southeast. HGC responded well. 2-0 domination of 2 calculated throw. Beyond Gaming, I casted that match against ZZZ. It was about as one-sided as it can get. Amateur opponents had to run up against Deathweb. They found themselves on the losing end, which I can't count against them. Big win was Phoenix Rising Diamond over Probius. That really made me rethink Phoenix Rising Diamond, as you'll see on the next slide when we move them around. It was Hollow Live. Okay, so I'm not crazy. So okay. Okay, thank you. I actually thought that I'd just been saying it wrong, and I thought that the guys were just getting pissed at me for it. No, okay, got it. Um, Bancho 2-1 over Regen Anomaly, which given Regen Anomaly struggles, doesn't doesn't paint Bancho as a team that's likely to rise back up to the top in my mind. Down here, I'm gonna start ZZZ. I had to move them down. That match looked really ugly. And they are memeing. Um, but I don't know. I just don't see anything changing here. That's all I have to say. This game might have been scheduled, by the way. Now we'll get to it. Probius, I'm moving them down to level with Phoenix Rising Diamond. Beyond Gaming, they look dominant, but I can't really move them based on off winning against such an overmatched opponent. I am not moving amateur opponents down. Instead, Deathweb moving up to S. And I think the winner of this series next week is going to be the second place team um, in Southeast. So, with that, here's where I'm at. Let me make sure that matches up with my notes. Uh, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it has been scheduled. Okay, Wednesday at 10 Eastern. Got it. So, um, Deathweb has just clearly been outplaying everyone by an extreme level. So they're going to be S. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of happy with the way things are at the moment. Looking at the simulation results, I think this is likely to be what playoffs end up looking like. I think Bancho and Two Calculated Throw are going to be the 7-8 seeds. Although Two Calculated Throw, they could climb more. RGA having a tough season. ZZZ kind of just memeing. You can still flame me, of course. I'm just because I don't have hair on my head, skin still burns. Not as easily, but it burns. Um, but yeah, I mean, here's where it's at right now. Deathweb a very heavy favorite to be the 1 seed, especially with the wins already over amateur opponents and HGC, who I think are going to be the competitors for that. Still likes Probius as a reasonable chance for the 1 seed, despite the loss to Phoenix Rising Diamond, which is interesting to me. But I guess it's just Phoenix Rising Diamond's further down, so if it came to a tiebreaker, they likely wouldn't be up there. So I don't know. Here's where we're at. C West. Can't counterpick stupid. Ran up against the surprising beast that is Garrulus Gaberlunzies. I've been practicing. Okay, they are as well. Okay, that's. I will say though that they've won a map, and so this is in response to Murda. RGA self-admittedly memeing this season. I will say that they've won a map, and at the rate it's going, I sincerely do not think ZZZ will win a map. And I'm not trying to BM them. It's just based on what I saw, it was ugly. Sorry, there's a fruit fly. I wasn't just randomly applauding. But Garrulus Gaberlunzi is actually undefeated right now. Although their win quality until this week was kind of. But I think that's a pretty good win to get over. Can't counterpick stupid with the 2-0. Team Maroon continues to struggle, losing to Resurgent Storm. Randy Newman continues to dominate. They're looking really, really good. Annie Oak League with the surprise for me from a tier list perspective, 2-0 win over Essence Gaming. Team Rainbow Strike Go did struggle a bit with BB&B, but they still won the series. And Artemis got the 2-0 over Can't Create Acronyms in that series. Hasn't been reported yet. But overall, the only real big seeding upset was Essence Gaming and Annie Oak League. So I'm going to move both of these two to the... Oops, I actually have both highlighted. Both of these two to C. On the other side of it, and I'm going to rearrange these. On the other side, I've really played with the idea of moving Randy Newman to S, but I'm interested to see what I want them to get a signature win, and I'm actually interested. While GG, their wins until this week weren't impressive, they've looked really good, and I only really want to put one team in S because it's got to be clearly a best team. So for now, I'm keeping them in A. Although I would say that these two have looked a bit better than Team Rainbow Strike Go. I'm leaving Team Rainbow Strike Go on the A line, but they're farthest to the right. CCS, I'm not faulting them for that loss. GG's look good. I am going to move Artemis up off the win. You know, are they going to bounce back down to C? Yeah, probably. That'll probably happen. In the meantime, Maroon, they're dropping down to E. I don't think they have the guns for this firefight. Can't create acronyms, dropping down along with Respect the Goose down to D. Bloodbath and Beyond, I thought they showed well against TRSG, but I didn't, not enough to certainly move them up. And I am going to switch the order of Annie Oak League and Essence Gaming. Essence Gaming, a team that I was pretty high on. I thought that they could challenge, maybe move up to A. And, that was a disappointing loss for them. Or it could be a very positive step in the right direction for AOL. Also possible. AOL's been around a while, so nice to see them finding their rhythm a little bit. From there, BSE West Simulations, safe bets, the top three that you would expect. Probable, you got these 5 teams in here. I think these 5 are going to be your playoffs. Bloodbath and Beyond, currently on the bubble, very much could move up. Respect the Goose, can't create acronyms. They're not eliminated yet. Team Maroon, I don't see climbing out of the long shot spot. This is a very dense division. I mean, you got 12 teams, so 4 aren't going to make playoffs. That's a lot of teams to not make playoffs. Relative, you look at other divisions, like in the B, Northeast and Southeast, you're going to have only 2 teams not make playoffs. B West, who knows what's going to happen there. We'll see. C East results. Okay, so C East played a lot last week. They played, so I have 9 games here, and that's not counting the withdrawal. So first, sad news, Witch Rhythm, who I thought was doing okay. They did withdraw. So I thought they were doing all right, but they are no longer among C East. But C East really knocking out their flex matches. He had a couple leftover matches from week 2. XGD getting the 2-0 over Protectors of Ire. Duritan's Couch, exceeding my expectations so far, looked really good against heavy slaps. XGD getting the win of the match to watch last week, 2-0 over Phoenix Rising Citrine. Protectors of Ire 2-1 over heavy slaps. Limit Break, a team that I had, based on their Hero Labs performance, I had fairly low expectations for. They are definitely exceeding them. Looking pretty good. Nexus Cats getting the 2-0. House of Shez, really impressive 2-0 victory over your math teachers. Your math teachers very much struggling right now. I had them as a team I was very big on heading into the season based on their showing in Division D East playoffs last season. And they've really not shown that level of coordination when I've watched. And then Nexus Cats getting another 2-0, this time over Bunker Fun Time. So Nexus Cats having a really good week. XGD having a really good week. And then finally, Phoenix Rising Citrine, getting the win over Bunker Fun Time 2-1. That was a great match to cast. I had fun with that one. Here's where we were last week. Unfortunately, Citrine, they lost to XGD. They have to move down, and all right, we're D East now, boys. Nexus Cats, XGD up at the top. And frankly, whoever wins this will move up to S. These have looked like the 2 best teams. And they're just continuing what they were showing in the regular season in D East. Again, both tripped up into playoffs to Bunker Fun Time and to your math teachers. But I think they're playing really well right now. From there, A is getting crowded. So Witch Rhythm, they had to move down to withdraw. Sorry to them. House of Shez moving up. You got Phoenix Rising Citrine, House of Shez, Limit Break, Bunker Fun Time. Um, I am actually putting now Duratan's Couch over here, and I'm moving Protectors of Ire up, Heavy Slaps down. And here's currently where I'm at. Order not really meaningful up here at the moment. I don't really know what to do with this ordering. I think these four teams are fairly interesting competitively. Um, but yeah, this is, these two teams looking quite. There's quite a big gap, I think, from A to B. There's quite a big gap from A to B here. I don't know how big the gap is from B to C, although your math teachers, I mean, if I weren't high on them to start the season, I'd probably have them down at D right now. They have not looked good. In fact, I'll leave them there for now. I'll leave them there. But they need to find some of that synergy they had late in the season last year last season because right now it's simply not there. Simulation odds. You look at the top 8. Simulator really likes Protectors of Ire. I'm warming up to them. They got the win over Heavy Slaps, which, given that those two teams I expected to be on the bubble last week, that's a big win because come playoff time they're going to have that tiebreaker advantage potentially. That said, they only got a 2-1, not a 2-0, so if it comes to like a triangle, that could hurt. Maple Syrup Bandits really low. Witch Rhythm leaving has cleared up the playoff picture a bit. Witch Rhythm was up here to the safe side, but now these top 8 pretty clearly favored to make playoffs, and it's going to be on your math teachers or Heavy Slaps to start pulling some upsets, start improving dramatically if this is not going to be our 8 playoff teams. Keep an eye on that. D West. D West continues to just baffle and befuddle me. I spend a ton of time on D West each week, and I don't know what to make of it. Yavapai, though, has been struggling. Lost 0-2 to Knights of State Bronze on Sunday. Just yesterday, they lost to Nerf the Smurfs 2-1. They finished pretty well last season in E, but it has not translated to D West. Nerf the Smurfs, though, getting 2-2-1 victories, also beating Lightly Salted. Lightly Salted, tough week, lost 0-2 to Puns Upon a Time, who also beat Team Rainbow Strike Go. So Puns Upon a Time, starting to come back, starting to look pretty good, starting to look like one of the top 4 teams. 9 Avatara continues to struggle. Clouded Minds 2-0, also over TRSG Knights. Can't Connect Stuns needed 3 games to beat Regen Divine, but they're still my favorite despite that. And Cool Cats and Kittens continuing to look good, especially now that they have a new logo, which I made sure to incorporate into my slideshow. There it is. Who's a good choco? You're a good choco. Yes, you are. Sorry, I think that logo is adorable, and I love it. So, D West, I'm keeping the same top 3. Lightly Salted does move down off the rough week. That makes room for Nerf the Smurfs to move up. I'm also moving up, so I immediately ditched Knights to State Bronze. I put them way down here, but then I looked at who they lost to, and they lost to good teams. So they're moving up. TRSG Knights, they're moving down. Yavapai, they're moving down. Here's where I'm at. No one really separating themselves out, though, among these 3, so we're interested to see when they start playing, which they do this week. Thursday at 9 Eastern. Can't Connect Stuns versus Cool Cats and Kittens. That is definitely a game I'm looking forward to watching. Cool Cats and Kittens really just look so improved from last season. Simulations. Puns Upon a Time, also in that very safe group. Helps that while they have lost matches, you look at who they lost to, they've lost to these top teams. Their remaining games against much more winnable matches. From there, kind of have a scale rather than discrete groups. From Regen Divine down to rear scaling. presumably 5 of these 4 teams are going to make playoffs unless Yavapai really turns it around. And I think TRSG Knights and 9 Avatar are in a lot of trouble, to say the least. D East results. Frankfurters having a really good season. 2-1 over Team Banshee. IMF comes back from that loss to one more fight. They get the 2-1 over Psystorm, who is very much struggling this season. One more fight, a team I had really high hopes for to start the season. Very much struggling now. Lost 2-0 to the Probius Strikes Back. Bad Matchmaker, a team I was very low on to start the season, they continue to do well. They didn't win against Rise and Grind, but damn, they put up a good fight. So, here's where I was at. Oh, I should note, I don't know the result of Phoenix Rising Onyx versus Hot Potato. It was not reported, and it was not casted. So, I don't have access to who won. If you see an unreported result, it just means the match has been played, or at least it was scheduled to be played. Usually, if I'm able to report the result, it's because it was casted. In this case, neither occurred. Neither the result was reported nor casted. So please make sure to get your matches in. It makes it a lot easier for me. Also, keep in mind the simulation doesn't know who won this match. So this is a pretty impactful match in terms of the tier lists, but I can't do anything with what I have. Council of Mages playing Rise and Grind tonight. Rise and Grind a heavy favorite there. Potato 1-2-0. Okay. Please report it in the future, whoever did not do so. I want to be clear. I expected that result. I expected Hot Potato to get the 2-0. That's not going to change my tier list at all. But yeah, I'm kind of reliant on that being done. All right. So from there, one more fight, they're moving down. They did get the win over IMF, so they're going to stay to the left of them. It was a close match. Phoenix Rising Onyx, they're going to stay still. That doesn't change with the knowledge I now have. Not changing this bottom tier yet, and not really seeing any reason to change anything else. I think my tier list has held up fairly well after it had massive changes in the first 3 shows even. 4th show, I think it's holding up fairly well. Game to watch next week, Rise and Grind versus Frankfurters. That is tomorrow night. No caster yet, last I checked. Taking a look at the simulations. It really likes the top 6 to make playoffs. I do as well. I assume Phoenix Rising has probably moved from probable to bubble as a result of their loss, if I had to guess, but I don't have time to rerun the simulations. So right now, OMF has actually really been struggling, and I'm probably still giving them too much credit having them on the C line. But they do have that win over I Must Feed, so we'll see. But that said, I think the top 3, maybe 4 or 5, if you count. So I'd say the top 3, I think, are really good. Maybe throw in Banshee and Bad Matchmaker. I think there's a big drop-off after Bad Matchmaker in D East. We'll see what happens. E results, we got some matches from Sunday night. TBD getting the 2-0 over Ice Crown Citadel Knights. Core Bouncers getting 2 over Bull Moose Party, who had been struggling. But Bull Moose Party getting the 2 over PRA. PRA now just in a complete free fall, it feels like. FF and the Pancakes really having a good season right now. But they didn't have anything really resembling a quality win. If you look at my tier list that I had last week, 3 of FF and T's wins are these 3 down here on D. But they did get a good win now against the baddest dudes who I had up on the A line. So as you can expect, FF and the Pancakes are moving up. Free Hong Kong, good showing, 2-0 against the Devil's Rejects. Illa Dancing Queens struggled to put away Fredonia, but did so. Illa Dancing Queens continuing to put together a good season. So with that, taking a look at where we were last week, here's where we were. I'm going to move FF and TP up here. I'm going to move Baddest Dudes down, but they're going to stay on the left. So they're not tier 1 anymore. but they are in that second tier. Devil's Rejects moves down off the loss. I thought really about moving Ice Crown Citadel Knights down to D. I'm still debating, and I think I am. But PRA actually moving down to E. They are really struggling. I think Poseidons could join them down there. Oh, did not mean to move them down. Here's where I'm feeling with Division E right now. Of course, that means that one of these three teams is going to make playoffs. If I had to guess, I mean, Bull Moose Party at least has a win, but I think Ice Crown Citadel Knights might be that team. Simulator, it doesn't know. Same kind of three teams locked into this, like, who's going to get the last spot. It's almost 33% each. Whereas Phoenix Rising, Amethyst already at a long shot. Top 6, safe. Devil's Rejects, despite the loss, still fairly safe. And the loss was to Free Hong Kong, or FC Hong Kong, excuse me, fairly respectable. Sorry, I amalgamated FC Hong Kong and Freedonia in my head. But huge match. FF and the Pancakes versus Illa Dancing Queens. Winner is very, very much the favorite in E. That is Thursday at 9:15 Eastern. So, that is your tier list and simulation updates for the week. From there, we are going to move into top 5 plays. I should note, I'm going to have some caveats to say on the number 1 plays, but the first thing I'm going to say is we actually had very few plays of the game uploaded this week. Less than, I think it was only 16 were uploaded. And there were a lot more than 16 matches played. Understand that I get my top 5 plays of the week from the play of the game category. So when you have a match, and one team, by the way, did this, they just clipped like the 30-second relevant portion of their game and uploaded it to YouTube since they didn't have a caster, and submitted the YouTube link for play of the game. That's fine too. But you gotta submit the play of the game to be considered. So these were the top 5 in my mind of the plays submitted. If you think your play was better, you should have submitted it. From there, let me pull up my notes. Here we go. Starting with number 5, this is Annie Oak League versus Essence Gaming. And it is a pretty solid play here. Gotta go to my top.
Another medallion went out, and Chromie right now has got to be just hating life. Oh, that's a good entomb on Greymane. That's a great entomb if the damage comes through, and it does. Lunara does the leap over there. The damage is on point, and so here, finally the blue team finds their setup after Chromie missing being frustrated with a couple of medallions. Another medallion went out, and Chromie right now has got to be just hating life.
We are
back.
That's
a good
That was number 5. That was the triple kill off Entomb. That was Annie Oak League over Essence Gaming. Annie Oak League winning that series 2-0. From there, next match was the next match was Artemis versus I'm drawing a blank here. I apologize. I forgot who they played, but it was Onvolskaya Foundry casted by OG Geo. So here we go.
On that Ardent Defender with what she does with her divey play style, and she doesn't have it for another 40 seconds. Blaze zooming in on Joe, who's a little bit cut off, but I think Artemis is going to be able to rotate around. Yeah, she's fine. She is fine. Artemis taking their turret. They do get it despite the invade from AOL. That's a big fight.
Mimic.
Oh, the bunker comes out, and Gul'dan will Gul'dan get away. Rainer falls, though. And I think Blaze might fall here, too. He knows he's going to fall, and so he stuns back in to try and get his team out, but Gul'dan's going to fall. Sonya is now just going to rip through. I don't know how that Stukov can get away. He does! And yeah.
All right, and that was number 4. Pretty interesting fight there, how it kicked off the 4-man Endurance of Hate. Good Horrify to disengage the worst of it, but still a good run down there by Artemis to close out Game 3 in that series, winning 2-1 over Annie Oak League. The next one, man, they really snowballed that game.
The demon moves for the gates of heaven.
All right, and that was an uncasted highlight, hence why there was no commentary. But a great snowball combo to close the game out there. Next one, Stukov roots are pretty good. This is Double Paradox versus Richard, and Richard, casted by Jinxie Cat. And here we go.
Nothing the members of Richard can do. Muffin has to jump over the wall. Root comes out onto Seeker. That's not where you want to be. No healing on Ana with that silence from Rukdal is going to be Ana going down before this Immortal even gets here. Alrighty. Immortal pushing down that front wall, leaving Greymane Master blown up by the side of Chromie there. Albatrox on the Chromie.
All right, and there you saw Stukov getting 3 kills off root combos, proccing Double Paradox to getting that map win and ultimately winning the series 2-1 over Richard, and, well, it's just technically. And then finally, number 1, and this is where I have to add caveats. I told myself I would never put my team at number 1, but I don't do anything meaningful in this highlight. My teammates do. So with that, this is the number 1 play, 3v5 core defense.
Ana hopped out, and now she's backing as well. The Bunky.
So it's just Garrosh going in the Protector. But again, just 29%, so they have to kind of go all in on this core if they're doing this. And it might be enough if they can. They need to get Li Ming to shoot it, though. She's being blocked by both, and it's a full team wipe.
Eye of Horus, ladies and gentlemen. That's
Holy cow, 5%.
All right, and despite what the caster said, Eye of Horus didn't do anything meaningful there at all. My teammates doing a really good job saving that game in the 3v5 core defense. Core lived with 5% casted by Arrow. That was legal versus Regen Ghost. Again, like I said, incredibly close series. Could have easily gone the other way. But with that, those are your top 5 plays for the week. And that is going to be our show for the week. I apologize that I was very scatterbrained and tired. I promise I'll do better next time. But thank you all for watching. And take care. We'll see you next time on 323 Weekly and in the Nexus Gaming Series. Bye now.